Also with us, Thomas Aiello is the Vice President for Federal Affairs at the National Taxpayers Union. Great to have you gentlemen on this Friday morning. So here we are. Let's break it down for our viewers. The national average for a gallon of regular gas is now close to $4. Even though the administration is saying prices should come down once the situation stabilizes. Sam, I'm going to start with you. Do you believe that this will occur?
Yeah, I do think that the gas prices will come down with time. The release of these strategic oil preserves is going to be really helpful. But I think the bigger picture, too, is that we need to look at as a country of how we become more energy independent so that we can project strength abroad without impacting the everyday consumer at home. We should not be worried about oil price while America sits on the largest oil reserves in the world. And my bigger concern, actually, more than oil and gas prices, is actually the LNG. We don't have a strategic reserve of LNG. And so you're going to see faster price shocks in that market that are going to be less easy to control. And it just comes back to, how do we make America more energy dominant, independent, you name it, whatever buzzword you want to use. We need to focus on helping ourselves first so we can do things abroad.
Interesting. Well, Thomas, the thing is that the old saying goes, time is money and money is time. And the thing is, initially, this war was actually mentioned to the American people as a 3-week war. Now they're asking for another $200 billion. So this might actually go into the summer months, the peak driving season of the year, if you will. How much appetite do you think that the American people have to swallow these high energy prices?
Well, that's the million-dollar question right now, is the longer this conflict goes on, the higher the chance that the prices are going to remain elevated throughout the year. And something I'm very concerned about is the targeting of energy infrastructure in the Gulf. Yes, that's not in the United States, but supply disruptions anywhere can lead to price increases everywhere. And that's what we're seeing right now. So with Iran targeting energy infrastructure in Qatar, that's a massive export facility, a massive production facility. It's not like a Lego set that you can break and rebuild almost immediately. These are very complex machines that take years, in some cases over a decade, to repair. So with those long-term supply shocks going over the long term, that's very concerning for consumers and obviously could lead to even longer price increases than we're seeing right now.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit here and let's talk about the Fed. It held its interest rates steady the other day, pointing to ongoing concerns about inflation, job growth, and the broader economic uncertainty that we're currently seeing. And we also heard from Jerome Powell. He gave quite the speech saying he's not going anywhere. It's almost like Wolf of Wall Street, that scene. I'm not leaving. So I'm curious to get your perspective on this, Sam, because yes, and eventually he's going to leave May 15th, but there is an ongoing investigation into what he has spent at the Federal Reserve in Congress right now. Tom Tillis is leading that. He said that investigation needs to continue. So where do we go from here as to the transition of the Fed and what we should expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, all of this is really bundled into the greater conversation of like kitchen table affordability issues. Interest rates impact everyday prices just as well as energy prices do. And we're in a time where people are actually holding on to and getting second jobs. Why the jobs reports are really kind of holding steady. Not a whole lot of new hiring going on right now, but the job reports are holding really quite steady. But a lot of that is coming from people having second and sometimes even third jobs and holding on to them for the uncertainty of what happens. War doesn't usually bring peace and comfort, right? And so when there's uncertainty in the market, you see a lot of price elasticity up and down. You see the rates kind of stick where they are. It brings us to a whole lot of uncertainty. And going into the midterms is what we need to be worried about, is what's going to happen in the midterms.
Yeah.
Thomas, we talked about crude, gasoline prices, natural gas. Sam brought up LNG, which is very critical to many of our allies around the world, namely EU, South Korea, and Japan. However, the entire globe depends upon crude and crude derivatives. Look at jet fuel and fertilizer, if you will. We were talking to some military experts with regard to the fact that we might actually experience high food costs. So I was just told that we ran out of time, but we got to talk about the impending possibilities of a food shortage, which would drive prices higher, which will have a dynamic impact on interest rates. But thank you so much, Sam and Thomas. We appreciate your commentary.
Thank you.
Thank you.